Hey guys, my name is Linden. I lead the worship down at C3 East Village, the downtown location, and I'm bringing the devotional for you today. And the main part of what I wanted to talk about is coming out of 1 Samuel 30, verse 6. And so the background context is David has just been told by the Philistine king to go back, but at Ziklag, the Amalekites ended up taking their wives and children and everything like that. So the men that he was leading were ready to stone him. And so this is what he said. David was greatly distressed because the men were talking of stoning of him. Each one was bitter in spirit because of his sons and daughters. But David found strength in the Lord his God. And in other translations it says, but David strengthened himself in the Lord his God. And so oftentimes it might feel like right now, like everything has been stolen from us. Right? Maybe our job that we have isn't there like it used to be. This is where we are able to find strength in God, right? And so what I find typical, I work as a personal trainer. And so people get stronger when they train with me. But what I found is there's a passive type strength that they build, but also an active strength, right? And so when you're building yourself in God, the same thing applies. There is an active strengthening and there is a passive strengthening. Passive strengthening is listening to sermons, listening to different podcasts that you really love. And now I love these podcasts and sermons, but it is nothing like active strengthening in the Lord. And that would be reading your word. That is spending time in prayer. I know that David, when he strengthened himself in God, he didn't go to a preacher. He didn't go to a podcast, the latest podcast from Hillsong or anyone like that. He went and spent time in prayer. He remembered what he had learned as a child from the Torah, because every Israelite had to memorize the Torah up until they were 12 years old. And so that's how he strengthened himself in the Lord our God, or in the Lord his God. It's not any different for us. We have to make the priority to be in the Word and to be spending time in prayer. Otherwise, we don't necessarily know who God is. And even Jesus talked about with Peter that when they had talked about, when Jesus asked them, who do they say you are? Who do they say I am, rather? Jesus talking to his disciples. They're saying, you're a preacher, you're a prophet, similar to Elijah. But then Jesus asks, who do you say I am? And Peter says, you are Christ, Son of the living God. And Jesus told him that this kind of revelation is only given through God himself, right? And so that comes through prayer, that comes through knowing the word. And so that's what we have to do as believers. Now, where do we go from that? That means that we have to spend time in the Word, right? If you don't know where to start in Mark. It's a really fast-paced version of Jesus' life. Start in Psalms, understanding what Jesus thinks and what God thinks of you. If you want to pray, start by asking Jesus, what do you think of me? God, what do you think of me? And these things are what are going to strengthen you. These are what's going to bring you peace in this rocky time. And I know that you are going to leave stronger than when you came into this season.